Merhaba. Last semester you learned to tell the time and on exact hour and half hour, right? For instance, you know how to answer the question saat kaç? You can say saat 10 veya saat 10.30. So you can say the exact time and half. So buçuk in this case means half, right? 10.30 means 10:30. And then we talked about at what time certain things. For instance, ders saat kaçta, and we use locative case for that purpose. And we say in the answer ders saat 10'da veya ders saat 10.30'da, right? So so that's that. I'm sure you're very comfortable about that now. You also learned that in case of 12:30, there's a specific name for 12:30 in Turkish, right? It's called yarım. It's when if it's 12:30, that's and so it's saat kaç, you say saat yarım. And if the course is at 12:30, you say ders saat yarımda, right? So that's that. Another thing, we talked about how the 12-hour clock is very common. It's commonly used in modern day Turkey today, although we also use the military hour on TV or formal correspondence. But in spoken language, it's really the 12-hour is more common. And in terms of AM and PM difference, we don't have AM or PM equivalent of AM or PM, but you can always say sabah or akşam. For instance, sabah 10 veya akşam 10. Değil mi? Okay, so we're very comfortable about that. One more thing, saat means both time and hour. So for instance, when you say saat kaç, you're asking about the hour, so you say saat 1. But it can also mean the time. For instance, you can say ben her gün 1 saat spor yapıyorum. It means I exercise an hour a day. So in that case, it's the duration of time. So how do you see the difference? So the differentiate between the two? Basically, the simplest way of seeing it and using it is when it's the clock, when it's the hour, the number comes after saat. So you say saat 1, right? When it's the duration of time, the number comes before saat. So 1 saat, meaning 1 hour long, 1 hour long. So, okay, so you should be very comfortable about those things. So we can move on and talk about the minutes. Believe it or not, we have minutes as well, right? So, so we should talk about them. For that, I want you to think about the clock. I mean, the analog clock. And I know some of you are not using this kind of clock anymore. Most of you are more familiar with the digital clock. But this is necessary right now to talk about the minutes for your Turkish. So because it's going to make it easier to think about it. Because so this is the clock, 12-hour clock, and then think about it in half, right? On your right, the minutes are past. On your left, the minutes are remaining to the hour. Okay, so past and to. So keep that in mind because we're going to have different ways of saying past and to, just like in English. So for the past, we say geçiyor. For the remaining or the to, we say var. So, for instance, let's say that, and actually start with the quarter. Quarter means çeyrek in Turkish. So let's practice that. Let's say that it is quarter after 1. Saat 1'i çeyrek geçiyor. So you see the hour takes accusative, and then after the minute we say geçiyor. 1'i çeyrek geçiyor. Let's say that it is 20 after 1. So it's like 20 minutes after 1. You say 1'i 20 geçiyor. So basically the hour takes accusative, and then you say the minutes in number and then add geçiyor. So this is how you tell the time, right? Now let's talk about the remaining minutes. Let's say it is quarter to let's say that it's quarter to 1. 1'e çeyrek var. And this time the hour takes dative, and then you add the minutes and then finish it with var. There is quarter or 15 minutes to the hour. That literally means that. Let's say that it is 20 to 1. 1'e 20 var. Okay? So this is the way you say the minutes. So what if you are talking about a thing at, what time something? For instance, ders saat kaçta? How do you answer this question with the minutes? Let's say that the class is quarter after 3. Then you say ders saat 3'ü çeyrek geçe. You see, we don't use locative in the answer, but we say it in a different way. 3'ü çeyrek geçe. Ders saat 3'ü çeyrek geçe. If it's, let's say, the class is quarter to 3, then you say ders saat 3'e çeyrek kala. So for the remaining you use kala instead of var. Okay, so let's say, let me give you a couple more examples. The class is at 10 after 5. Saat 5'i 10 geçe. And if it's, quarter to 5, ders saat 5'e çeyrek kala. Okay? So, as you see, there's, you need to practice this, and but I think you're ready for this, and your worksheet has many examples, and you're going to be much more comfortable when you do it carefully. But before I finish today, I'd like to add one more thing about the days. So let's say that I'm going to ask you the dates, not necessarily just the time. For instance, I'm going to say, ders ne zaman? Okay, so ne zaman is a question, it might be the date or months, so it's a more generic question. And I want to answer in terms of, like, I'm going to give the date or the day of the class. So I'm gonna say on Wednesdays at 10, right? And in Turkish you say çarşamba günü saat 10'da. So you see, you don't say çarşambada. You don't add locative to the day, but instead you say çarşamba günü. So that's the difference about the days. So we don't use locatives for the we don't attach locative case to the day, but we say çarşamba günü. Çarşamba günü görüşürüz, right? But we still say saat 10'da. Okay, so this is something I want you to pay attention when we talk about days and times, and I think you're going to need to practice a little bit, so you'll have some more examples in the worksheet. But of course, we're going to continue practicing in class. Okay, all right. So come to class prepared. Kolay gelsin. Görüşürüz.